Notification. Roll call, please.
Sarah Schubert McCone,
Here.
Kelly Moen,
Here.
Nick Olson.
Here.
Catherine Gamon.
Here.
Nick Schumacher here. President Steve Olson.
Here.
Virtual, Laura Gapsky.
Here.
This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There's a time for comments by members of the public during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any of the topics included on tonight's agenda may do so by signing up on a public comment sign-up sheet by the entrance prior to the start of the meeting. The board requests refraining from making any comments involving personally identifiable information about students, staff, or administration. Comments should be respectful, focused on the items being considered by the board, and will be restricted to 3 minutes in length. There are no comments from members of the public. We shall then move to the report from our superintendent.
Okay, I have one informational item tonight. Mr. Kalen will join us at our next meeting. Brendan, you are up as our student rep. We have like a couple more meetings left.
Oh.
I know. I know.
So just some recent events at Superior High School. Girls hockey shut out Northern Pines 7-0 and Bucks their tickets to state. So they're playing Thursday and then down at the Kohl's Center in Madison for the state tournament.
So they are,
And basketball too.
sorry, they're at, they're in Middleton.
Oh, they're in Middleton.
Yeah, it's a different ice arena. They haven't been at the Cole or the other arena for many, many moons.
And then kind of along those lines, Beckett Selden also went to state for wrestling. Then we had mock trial. They went to state, and we had multiple DECA members go to state. Avery Let's Go just this weekend punched her ticket to state for the individual balance beam and gymnastics. And yeah, a lot of state competitors this year.
That's awesome.
And then additions for the Spring Music Matilda are happening. In some student council news, we just held our Sparty Gras Spirit Week just a couple weeks ago. We switched to a morning assembly schedule and that went really well. Started planning our spring fling assembly, transitioning the planning for the juniors so they can get some practice, and seniors are out here next year. So we're trying to help them be able to start that planning process and get a smooth transition into next year. Seniors are working on end of the year events for the senior class, which is senior superlatives or senior awards, most likely to be voted, fill in the blank. And then the senior dress up days for the end of the semester there. Then the presidential election planning is underway for the president and vice president. Election day is set for April 15th with the announcement on April 17th at our spring fling assembly. And I'm also planning to meet with Mr. Harrelson on the Monday after spring break to discuss end of the year plans. That's all I got. Any questions from the board?
No, but we should do a round of applause for all of this.
So on that, on any of them, on the WIA site, if any of you are interested or anybody in the public, they're sports specific, and then you, on the state tournament part, you can scroll down, and then you can see on the left-hand portion, there are some of the TV stations across the state that cover the events and stuff. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but one of them is Audible Claire. That's our closest feed, believe it or not. And I do believe it's WKOW and stuff. So all of the feeds are generated by the WIA at all state tournaments and stuff. So our individual gymnastic person, the girls' state hockey. The girls' state hockey is played at Bob Suter 20 Legacy Arena. I think it's in Middleton. So, but if you're interested, go into the WIA site, and especially for the athletic ones, and you can watch that event.
you okay if I go to the next items?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have a few action items, several overnight field trip requests. The first one is from Northland, and John is here to answer any questions you have.
Hey, John.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Northland Senior Retreat at the school forest.
Want to give us just an elevator speech on what you do and
Yes.
why you do it?
So, thank you for making motions to approve our trip. This is a very important part of our program in Northland. We serve a group of at-risk youth that normally are really struggling in our school system. And one of the things that we're doing with this is we've created an experiential education program, and it's kind of culminates with this simple overnight. So we take the students out after the close of business day on Thursday, and we get our sap boiling down, and we'll have a nice family style dinner with our seniors to try to just kind of help them understand, like, this is what, like a really nice dinner looks like. And then we also have some activities where they can start to plan out their lives. So we have like vision boards. We create like a 1 year, a 5 year, and a 10-year plan for the students. And then, at that whole time, we're also working and boiling down the sap. This is like a culmination of the project. We're actually going on Friday to go and tap the trees. And then we have 4 elementary groups that are coming out. And so a lot of our strong leaders, they'll go out there and actually lead some of these elementary groups. So our students are getting a lot out of these trips.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity to utilize the things that we already have in the district. It's by far the cheapest field trip that we've seen come across. So I think it's great. And Lori will love to have you out there.
I think it's neat too, John, that all 4 staff members out of Northland are able to participate with their seniors.
And this is part of our community building. This is one of the things that, I think helps. It makes our program really special, is that, our students, they get to see us not only in front of them in the classroom, but also in these other situations. And so that allows us to kind of build relationships, and also to help, I think, kind of solidify a lot of the gains that we've made over the 4 years that we've had these students.
Thanks for taking care of this and getting this organized.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
support.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have 2 robotic requests. Spike is here to answer any questions you have there. You'll need to take them separately. Spike has secured some grant funding over the course of the year to help implement some initial plans for robotics. So,
And
and you
I've got,
must have brought some students.
I have the captains of the team,
Awesome.
if you guys want some student captains, so.
All right, entertain a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion second to consider the overnight field trip from Spike Gralewski for the SHS robotics team to attend WIN District 7 Rivers event in La Crosse, Wisconsin. All right, Spike, we'll turn it over to you first and the boys that are here and.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think sort of like smart manufacturing, we're starting things that I wish would have been here when I went to school. The robotics program, Max had a chance to, we got a chance to go down during the summer to kind of like play test FIRST Robotics. So has anybody here been to the deck event that's over at the deck?
Quite.
Yeah, the double decker. And so Max got a chance to go to that. I got a chance to go to that. The students loved it that went, and they're like, "Hey, can we start a team?" And I'm like, "I'll help you guys figure it out. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing, but we'll figure it out." And we wrote a bunch of grants and talked with Amy and got enough to get it started. So I will let them kind of talk about their experience. And
Will this be your
What they're
first
excited about.
competition, these overnights, or will you have done competitions already? Because you've been building your
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be the first competition for our program.
Okay.
It works a lot like a sports season, where, you know, the practice will start, games start, a little bit later. I think it's kind of important. I've been a student athlete for all 4 years. I will have participated in 10 different sports seasons. And when I went down to the meet that I did this summer, which was kind of like an informal way that we could just get our toes wet into the world. It was interesting to see the collaboration between athletics and also very practical STEM concepts, right? So it's competition first, but also FIRST Robotics is by far the best way to that I've ever experienced in my high school years, to network with other engineers, professionals, and others like other schools as well, right? So one of FIRST Robotics core principles is called cooperation. So a combination of competition and cooperation, and we've seen that play out in a lot of different informal events, whether it be mostly with Benfeld, honestly, because their program has been built up over the last 20 years or so. They hosted a kickoff event. We've hosted them over in return as a favor. They've used our machines. So yeah, I guess as a senior, I wish I had this 3 years ago when I was a freshman. And I've never seen something where in any of my activities where we have just a couple upperclassmen, I think 4 or 5 seniors, and then everyone else seems to be freshmen, and that's these guys here. They're ready to take this program, I think, to the next level. And we're excited at these meets to finally not just think about what might happen, but we also really, we get to do it finally. We get to go out there, compete, and all the work that we've done on display. And then also all these guys are going to start networking. And yeah, I think that's a really valuable experience, especially as freshmen. Yeah. I mean, you guys have anything else you want to add?
Robotics helps with after they graduate and go into the workforce, like with STEM and coding. It just helps teach them and get a successful job application going.
So teamwork, and I know I've learned a few things about leadership.
What were your guys' names?
John, you.
I'm team pro.
Thanks, Carrie.
I think one of the things I remember from being at the deck was the level of cooperation that between the schools and how they all like to help each other out. And it's very collaborative. It's a very cool
Yeah, it's
environment.
unlike
Yeah.
anything.
He's so all the parts, they're not cheap. And you have your motor on your part, and if it goes down, and your robot all of a sudden is incapacitated, all you got to do is go up to the booth and say, hey, we need this motor. And they'll go over the loudspeaker and say, team 11,158, that's us, needs a motor. And literally there will be teams running
To help
with
you,
a new
yeah.
part to give it to you so you can still compete. It's a
Pretty
really cool opportunity and community.
Someone walk through some of the different things the robots are asked to do.
Yeah, I can take this one actually. So in FIRST Robotics, competitions are structured in seasons. At every year, it's a different game that they play. It's kind of 3v3. This year, it involves a kind of like basketball, where there are about 400 small foam balls that are kind of spread across the entire arena, and our robots are asked to navigate obstacles within the arena and simultaneously be able to fire the projectiles. We have to first grab them and then fire them into a large hub as efficiently as possible. And then there are also alternate goals. For example, at the end of the match, it is get points for hanging on to a bar. It's called climbing. So yeah, so every single year you get something different, and that's what is so interesting about it. I mean, if you're playing lacrosse, if you're playing cross country, it's the same thing every year. You know what to expect, but here in FIRST Robotics, you got to strip down your robotic. You have to strip down your robot every year, make something new, and that's what really brings out the engineering of this.
Cool.
Yeah, does that answer your question? Yep.
And Max, what's interesting about it, the Duluth News Tribune had an article about this, and the picture is all the balls sitting on the floor and stuff, and then the big containers in the back, and how the students are getting ready to do that. So I find that interesting that the state of Minnesota, which is sponsored by the Minnesota State High School League, so they've got that going on, and then you have the same competition in Wisconsin. So it must be a national.
Yeah, it is international.
Yeah. So here's what I'd ask. So knowing that goes on across the bridge and stuff, Spike, is there a groundswell across our state where we're looking at robotics being like sponsored by the state somewhere along the line of, we've got our FBLA, we've got our DECA, we have, other organizations that are state sponsored. Where are we there with?
It's been working directly with DPI, right? That's been our point of contact for that.
First Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's like the Wisconsin branch of First.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we started our conversation when it came to grant securing. She was Spike's obviously more involved than I am, but we've attended meetings together around the budget, the planning, and they want to expand up in this region. Is that safe to say?
What I was told was, so Wisconsin moved to districts this year, whereas Minnesota is still in regionals. When you're in regionals, you're $6,300 for the registration fee for being in the games, right? Went to one event. Wisconsin decided to go to districts, and that meant they would have smaller events, but for your $6,300, you would get to go to 2 events. And so we're going to Largo and we're going to lacrosse.
Those are those two right there.
In talking to Renee at First Wisconsin, she said that there is an opportunity, and it actually just opened up, I think, a few days ago to bid for where those district events are. And there's a week 2 opening, which is over our spring break, which there's no event that they have. And if I'm looking at our thing, right, the transportation and the hotel is over $6,000 for both of these events. We covered them with grants, but I think it would be really nice if we hosted one of the district events at our high school. That would get rid of our travel and transportation for one event.
So you do that in replacement of one of these? Or
Yeah.
in addition, oh, you would know.
No, it would be a replacement.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it would be saving us money. The school would get to keep the revenue from the snacks and the people who come and buy concessions. And I think too, like, we're so far north that our students really kind of, we got to travel for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this would be a really cool thing to bring to our area someday.
If it doesn't happen this year, it could happen in the future.
Well, it definitely won't happen this year,
Okay.
but like we could bid for it to be next
Okay,
year
got
is where it's at. So
You get to collaborate at all with the Minnesota schools then?
yes,
Duluth, Proctor, and good.
You've gone over to Grand Rapids and Duluth? Is that correct?
I personally wasn't at Grand Rapids, but the team was, yeah.
Yeah,
they were.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're semi-affiliated with ARC, and I can't remember the acronym, but it's all the Arrowhead region coalition that is together, and so they have a field that they use and they move around to different schools. So there's one, it was at ESCO last weekend. And so all the teams can go to ESCO, set up their pits, play with their robots, ask other teams questions, problem solve together. And then the field is set up and they get to practice. So it's a really cool organization.
Max, about how many students right now are involved in our program? Do you?
We have consistently around 17 of us that show up at every practice.
33.
There's been a total of 33 people who have shown up to Athens.
I think it's just cool too, like they're putting in the hours. We're practicing from 5 till 8 PM on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then on Saturdays from 10 AM to 4 PM. And they're all showing up
That's cool.
and getting things done.
And the advisors are.
Yes.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for being here and.
Thank
Thank you guys for giving us the chance to talk about this.
Thank you guys. Nice job.
Any further discussion of this particular motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second one, consideration overnight field trip for Spike Gerlewski for the SHF robotics team to attend Wind District McWanago event in McWanago, Wisconsin.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. You do not have to stay for the. John, thank you again for being, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We shall now move on to our board committee reports. First up, Teaching and Learning Committee.
All right. Administration recommends the adoption of the following curriculum resource to support elementary math courses. These resources are needed to meet 7-year curriculum cycle needs and content area standards.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mention the second
Discussion?
for the resource of supplementing elementary math courses. Discussion. Crystal, take it over.
Provide some discussion.
Yes.
All right, I usually jump ahead. Nick, I waited this time, so
It's good.
the motion was made.
You're on.
All right, well, I have some presenters here with me tonight, so we could give you a little bit of context and background so you know what you're voting on. This is a very exciting time. We, as you know, have been focusing on the area of math, not just since the start of our strategic plan this fall, but for years leading up to this, especially at the secondary level. So I wanted to give you a little bit of context, just a reminder of our journey at the secondary level, and then these folks are going to talk about what's going on at the elementary level. Before we start our presentation, for those of you who are new to the board, or this is the first time, or maybe you're part of an approval for a curriculum resource, I just like to provide the context that in policy in our district, it is the board's responsibility to approve that we can teach this curriculum resource in our classroom. So that's what you're approving tonight. And I know sometimes people get confused that you're approving like the purchase, you're actually approving like the adoption of this as a curriculum resource. So Anne, could you put our slides up? Perfect, thank you. So just as a reminder, you see the 4 pillars here that are part of our strategic plan. I'm a little biased, and pillar number 1 is usually my favorite because it's where all the curriculum instruction work happens. You can see that our charge with this pillar is to ensure that we are using research-based instructional materials and using data to drive that work when we're deciding what to do in our classrooms with kids. Before I share some data, I just wanted to maybe reiterate how hard our secondary teachers have been working. Our teachers in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and our Algebra 1 course are in their 2nd year of using Amplify Desmos as a new curriculum resource. And then this fall, our Geometry and Algebra 2 courses joined that. So 6th grade through Algebra 2 all use the same curriculum resource. And then our pre-calculus and calculus and statistics classes beyond that use other resources. Textbook companies below the college level don't typically even like sell those things for our adoption. We use higher level materials for those. So Algebra 2 is where we'll stop that. But I did want to share some of the data that's indicating some early information about how things are going at our secondary level. So what's here on the screen is some forward exam data, which is the state test that our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders take. This is specifically obviously in math. On the left side there, that bar is how our students did in the 23-24 school year, and that little teal and purple colors together equal 34%. And that indicates during that school year, 34% of our students were meeting or advanced on the forward exam in math. And you will see that last year, after only about 7 months of using our new curriculum resource, that our students were performing at 39.3%, meeting and advanced at our middle school level. We have not, in the 13 years that I've been in this role, seen that significant of a jump in our data. We have a long way to go. We know that in the area of math, that's why it's part of our strategic plan, that we've been struggling, and it's been a slow climb since COVID especially. But this data is very encouraging, and we're really trying to impress upon that our teachers, that they're doing a great job. I did also want to share this data. At our high school level, our 9th graders and 10th graders take the state exam, the pre-ACT. And in the 23-24 school year, prior to using the new curriculum resource, you can see that 37.8% of our 9th graders, and I'm specifically pointing out 9th graders because they are the majority of students who take Algebra 1 at the high school level.
With the new curriculum.
Yes, with the new curriculum. We're meeting and advanced. And then you will see, after just 6.5, 7 months of using that new curriculum resource last school year, our 9th graders jumped to 48.8%. That is a huge gain. We have not seen that in our pre-ACT data, or ACT Aspire data, but prior to that. So I just wanted to kind of showcase a little bit how hard our secondary teachers are working. Now, what we know is that we need to start looking at our elementary level, and because of Act 20 and our literacy focus, we were waiting a bit so our teachers could get their feet on the ground with that. But now we know, as this data indicates when we looked at it during our strategic plan writing, that we need to focus on math at the elementary. So I just wanted to give a little bit of comparison. On the left, you'll see those 3 bars are for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And on the left, it is our district data from last school year forward exam. And then on the right is the state data. So for example, at our 3rd grade level, last school year, 61.3% of our students were meeting or advanced on the forward in math. And at the state level, so we outscored the state, only 54.8% of the students in our state were meeting or advanced. So you can see our 3rd graders did a really great job, but you can see what happens to the data at our 4th and 5th grade level. And so we know that we need to make some big shifts like we've been making at our secondary level. So this school year has been kind of the year of work so far, and will continue to be at our elementary level. And so I brought these guys so they could tell you about the journey that our elementary teachers have been on.
Right. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Julie Ingebrigtsen. I'm a second grade teacher at Northern Lights. This is my 9th year in the district. This is my 32nd year of teaching. I'm not going to read that for you. You guys can read it. But one of the reasons why I wanted to be on this committee is because I've worked with Sarah and Amy over the last many years of trying to add to what the things that our current curriculum is missing, providing experiences for our students to answer those higher level questions, to where you're not just spoon feeding them, you're not just teaching it, but you're saying, hey, here's an additional problem you've never seen before. How would you think you would solve it? Use your background knowledge. What different ways can you try to, work through this problem? And so, trying to get the kids to think more about what they're doing. Our current curriculum does provide some of that, but there was a lot that, in order to make it really worthwhile experience for the kids, that you had to pull into what our current curriculum is. And so that was what I wanted to, what's out there? Is there something better than what we have, to where it naturally flows with what I'm teaching? I don't have to go pull something else into it. And it makes more sense, more cohesive for the students who are trying to learn it. Kind of all that. This is actually my 3rd time of being on a curriculum committee. I was on the first 2 benchmark committees, and so it interests me to see what's out there. What can I provide better for my students? That kind of thing.
And as a reminder, I'm Amy Patel, one of the elementary instructional coaches, and
Sarah Hollingsworth.
my partner. Yeah. And we work together. So a little bit what we did with the committee, as Julie said, and Crystal said as well, we pulled together this year and we started by looking at the research. Here's just a snipping of a couple of the two different pieces of research that we read. And in doing that with our group of teachers and administrators who joined us, we first read that research and had time to discuss and process and really say, here's what the research says, but what do we value in mathematics instruction here in Superior? So we went through a process first to articulate that. As Julie, as a member of the committee, it was her and we had representation across the district. We had about 14 teachers join us in this work. It was open to all teachers who may have had an interest to join us. And then our principal partners joined us as well in that work. After we took a look at the research and actually ironically, we kind of started this process pre-Act 20 and then put elementary math on hold. So Sarah and I have kind of been looking at math resources, what's out there, kind of seeing what's even available. And one resource that we just wanted to share with you that we use quite a bit in looking at curricular materials is called Ed Reports. And if you're not familiar, Ed Reports is a nonprofit organization that their purpose is to review instructional materials to ensure that school districts are using the highest quality materials that are out there. And they create rubrics and they score them based on the design of the materials for both teachers and students, for coherence and focus, and then also for rigor and the mathematical practice, which come from our standards. And so we took a look at Ed Reports to say, hey, how are things scoring out there and what it would be worth our time to put in front of our teachers in part of our review.
So as part of that process, we kind of talked as a team, the team committee. What are our priorities in math? What do we feel like we're missing? What could we use help with? Where, what would be best for our students in learning? What would our curriculum need to provide? And we kind of thinned that out and put it in main categories that went along with the standards that we are supposed to be teaching. And then after we got through that, we actually got to evaluate the curriculums. These are the three that we looked at: Bridges, Math Expressions, which is what we have currently, and then Amplified Desmos. And we had about 20-30 minutes, was not nearly long enough to actually dig into them, to look at all three curriculums or discuss what we're already doing with Math Expressions. There was some immediate reactions when we saw them, like, oh, there's a lot that's going to be involved in teaching with some of it. Do you want to talk specifically about each one? Or?
What stands out? What excited you the most about Amplify?
The workbooks that the kids will be working with are very interesting. The pages are interesting. Currently, we have like a worksheet that will be front and back and seems like 800 problems on it. The new workbooks have much more space for the students to do their work, show their work. There's maybe 2 or 3 problems on the page. For those students who get overwhelmed by 20 problems on the page, there's much less for them to look at and for them to do. One other thing that we thought was interesting, there were 3 second grade teachers on the committee, so we talked a lot. Which there's a story that goes along with it and it carries throughout the unit. One of the ones I happened to look at, because I was looking specifically at one of the main points of what we teach in second grade, they were going to there was like a market or something like that, and they had to buy things and purchase things then. So to use that real world experience, and that carried throughout the whole unit for kids to, have a story to go on to and to spiral back to and pull in different ideas from.
And those were the 3 that kind of rose to the top on that report, right?
Yep.
That's why you
And
added those.
We used a combination of ratings and also copyright, to be completely honest, because things become obsolete sooner than you would think in the curriculum.
And your ability to
purchase things
Yeah.
and then things they don't. Once a curriculum is on its golden, they don't upgrade or update things like technology platforms as readily. So you want to look for more recent copyright. So these were our values down the left-hand side, and this is just a snapshot of the summary of how we scored. And when I say we, just want you to know that Crystal and Amy and I do not complete the evaluation process. We facilitate it, but we do not score the materials. It's the teachers and the principals that score. So you can see that Amplify Desmos came out On top, I should point out it is a 4-point rating scale. These are the average scores. The only one category where math expressions came out more strongly, but fairly resounding, I would say. And then we're not going to go into this too much depth. Crystal did share in some LinkedIn, some things if you wanted to learn more. I think one of the things that I appreciate about Amplify Desmos is the structured approach to problem-based learning. It is a very, there's a nice sequence in the lessons. There's a lot of great materials, and I think it offers a lot for our students and for our teachers.
And on that first slide, when Julie first started, one of the things that we didn't mention, we heard loud and clear from the committee of teachers that they kind of wanted to slow down. So our plan actually is next school year, we'll have a group of lead learners using this across our district in all K-5 grades and at all buildings, a smaller group. That group of teachers will teach from it. Hopefully, they will agree to allow us in to get video in classroom, which will be so helpful that then in the following year, when we go district-wide, we will have our own internal videos to help support with staff development. Teachers, we did that the first time we did benchmark, and they absolutely, one of the greatest things we ever did was being able to see the resource being used in our district with their grade level colleagues. So we really look forward to the learning that's going to happen next year and that transition that will happen.
I appreciate what you just said there, Amy, because I think we saw that with Act 20 as well. You know, we needed to take a step back a little bit so the teachers had the time, you know, to really do this with fidelity. Yeah, the state said the Act 20, you got to do this and away you go. And thanks a lot for all your support, state. But it's left upon you to make sure that our students are getting the most for the reading program they're in and now the new math program that you're selecting.
Do you have any questions?
So I do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Olson.
All right.
Yeah.
With this new program, and I see the benefits on some of the areas and stuff. So we still hear in this community, in order to learn the skill, you need to drill. You know, they still want the math sheets in front. You will memorize and everything. So where does this program take us to kind of alleviate that mindset of those people?
I would say the first thing that's really important, and a few things that I'm going to say, they apply K-12, because remember in case you didn't pick up on it yet, our elementary level is adopting the same resource that our secondary have been using, which is actually not always common. Companies don't even always sell products that span that many grades. It's important to know that whatever resource that we are using, our responsibility is to adhere to and teach to the standards. That's our first responsibility. We're using this resource as a curriculum tool to help us teach those. And we have to remember that the standards, while they do not focus completely on conceptual understanding and having that structured approach to problem solving, it is much more heavy in the standards than the fluency and making sure that you know your facts or can tell time or can count coins. Some of those things that we consider much more traditional math that are how many of us were trained to teach math, especially at the secondary level, using a very traditional approach to skill and drill. But we have an obligation to follow the research and the standards and then find a resource that relies heavily on the processes and the structures and the strategies that are more heavy on the conceptual understanding right now. It is a really big shift. Our secondary teachers are doing an amazing job. The data is showing that, but it doesn't mean that it's easy work to shift your thinking from that traditional math to peer collaboration, problem solving, explore the math. Don't give the kids the math right away. Let them figure it out by themselves, and then swoop in with the explicit instruction, the synthesizing of what the standard or the outcome of the lesson or unit is. So I don't know if that helps, Steve, but it's, as with anything, there's a balance, and as with anything, change and big shifts is harder for some people than others.
do we see, when you looked at this program, did you see the assessment alignment within this program stronger than, and in some ways, does it talk with some of the programs that were involved in all, as far as the testing?
Oh, you mean like assessments in terms of like how we use the data?
Right, right.
Good question. So, most resources sell you lots of other things if you would like a la carte products to go with the curriculum resource that you're purchasing. So we earlier was it this week? No, today's Monday, last week.
Yeah, last week.
Last week, we had a call with the company and we're learning about all the assessment components and the intervention component that you can purchase to go along with this. Of course, the assessment component is important. And the data then we would want probably that data to feed into EduClimber or whatever our data warehouse is. But we also have to remember that our elementary teachers are already giving other benchmark assessments. And so we have to think about the balance of how much we're assessing our students and what's reasonable for our teachers. So if we're going to use the assessments with this, which we likely would want to do, something else probably needs to come off the plate with that. Maybe our, fast bridge testing or other data sources that we already use. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I guess not referring to the elementary, but just at the secondary level, what kind of feedback are you getting from the teachers? How were they feeling? I see ninth grade did really well. 10th grade took a dip from 23, 24 to 24, 25.
Yes, and so our 10th graders in that data cohort weren't yet using the resource.
Okay.
So that's
Only the graders are.
Yeah.
New curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay.
As with anything, and I would say this is true when we're using a new elementary literacy resource, Benchmark Advanced this year, or Amplify Desmos at the secondary, and will probably be the case at the elementary. It's our job to support teachers in carrying out the curriculum and the resource with fidelity. I mean, Steve used the word fidelity. We also use the word integrity, because when you purchase a resource, these resources aren't just created overnight. They are built based on many years of research. And the research clearly says, if you use all of the tools in this as they are designed to be in the lessons and the conceptual understanding and the balance of all the things, then you're going to see results. If you pick and choose components to do, then the research behind this resource isn't going to serve you the same purpose, and you're probably not going to see the results.
And that's consistent with literacy or math.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's consistent with anything.
Can you talk a little bit though about what you've done at the secondary for the last year and a half to support the new adoption?
Yes, so and I know I've mentioned a few of these things before. Prior to the adoption of our new math resource at the secondary level, our coaches, principals, we had been already doing PD on some big changes in math away from traditional to more of a conceptual understanding to align with the standards for 3 years prior to that. We've been doing a lot of professional development. We have brought in consultants from CISA 12 several times to work with our teachers, because sometimes they get sick of me talking or our coaches talking. So we bring in other experts to help with the learning. So we had done that already. Then since we started implementing, before every single unit that our secondary teachers teach, both last year and this year, we provide them with subs and we pull them out and we help them unpack the unit, the standards, all of the components, the lessons. One, so they are fully understanding what they're going to be teaching, but two, truly like they need and deserve that time, because this is very different. If we all sat in a math classroom today, the lessons that the students are learning look different than we learned math. And the standards are different. So we've been providing that support. Our instructional coaches are providing support all the time. We have twice brought in someone from Amplify Desmos this year to observe in our high school math classrooms and give us feedback from an outside lens on how we're doing. They've been very complimentary. Our teachers are doing a great job. It doesn't mean it's not hard, doesn't mean it's not scary, doesn't mean that sometimes we, are challenged by it, but our teachers are doing a great job. It's our job to stay the course and continue to support them, and it's their job to continue to follow through on the fidelity of the implementation. So
So when you say challenge, do you feel like it's more of like a buy-in thing from teachers that are struggling with it, or is it just
I think it's
because it's a new?
changing instructional practices.
Okay.
It's really, it's not like you lecture for 45 minutes, kids do some work for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
It's truly changing the format of your instructional practices on a daily basis and the format for how you deliver the lesson, how you give feedback. It looks very, I've had the opportunity to observe as well, both the middle and the high school. And, there's peer collaboration. So there's a little less structure sometimes, those conversations. So it's about learning how to teach math differently in different math practices than the traditional kind of sit and get.
You're kind of getting to the point, like, what does student engagement look like? What are, like, how is it changing discipline in the classroom? How are students behaving in the work?
So a really big component of this at the secondary level, it's obviously less of this will be less of this at the elementary, is that there are a lot of digital days where their students are using their laptops and their devices. And of course, there are paper days, they're called in between. And there's always the paper option if a student wants to be able to or needs to be able to do it on paper instead of their device. The biggest, I guess, key to the use of the device is that they're collaborating with peers. So students should rarely be working alone when they are engaging in the first 75% of the lesson. They are doing this with a peer and they have to share a device. So partner A today closes the lid on their laptop and pushes it aside, and partner B's device is the one that's used. And they're together solving the problem for a big chunk of the lesson.
Can I pause there for a second?
Yep.
I think one of the things that's very different about the instructional model that they're using, and I've seen this at the elementary too, is math talk. Kids have to talk about math. It's not just sit and get. You have to explain your thought process, and the math talk, I think, is an important part of that peer collaboration, right? Because kids have to explain their thinking, right?
Yeah. And I was smiling inside and outside when I was listening to the robotics students here talking, because when you think about the skills that they are needing to use to engage what clearly excites them, they have to have been doing the collaboration and this kind of learning in their math and science and classrooms so that they have the skills needed to be able to do this. And I'm just going to say, like, a really blunt example, standing in front of students and showing them a few math problems on the board and then assigning them 60 problems in a book to do, as we may have learned as math students ourselves, is not going to produce collaborative, rigorous thinking that our students need today. So I'll say it again, it's a really big shift in teaching and philosophy, but it's what research indicates we need to do. It's what the standards say we need to do. So it's our job to support that work.
Do you see the math talk, as Amy said? Is that something that'll be common at the elementary levels too, like all the way through?
Absolutely. Probably more strong at the elementary, because as students are taught things and given opportunities to do this, then it spirals through the grades. So once students at a younger grade are using a resource or doing math or anything in a certain way, it only strengthens. Obviously this year's 7th and 8th grade teachers are saying, whoa, wow, we're getting students who've now been using this resource for a year already, and they're coming in with different skills.
When I was an elementary principal, those were the things we always talked about with our elementary teachers, was in what engagement truly is in math is doing the math and the problem solving, but then talking about math. Like, those two things go hand in hand. Those are the things I'd look for as an elementary principal.
And of course, along with the collaboration, there's the balance of individually, students still need to synthesize, show their teacher what they're able to do. The teacher is still looking individually at, the 25 students in front of them, saying, oh boy, these 5 still struggled with this. I need to do this a little bit differently tomorrow, or revisit this before I move on to the next. There's still the individual component. Teachers are always, of course, very aware of where their kids are at, but the collaboration piece needs to happen. It's what leads to the conceptual understanding.
The other part is when we have the opportunity to visit schools. So as we get into this program and everything, and that getting into some of these elementary classrooms, and how neat it would be that within a year or so from now, we see that engagement in the classroom and kids talking math. We see the effects of Act 20, in the classroom. We actually see that from the kids. When you're You said the teacher standing up, that's what first came to my mind. Man, the old days, put that up there and they go, brrr. Yep, that's what it is. And then they gave you the 50, 60 problems. I'll get it done.
It's
Good
not-
luck.
Yeah, that
But
model.
if you were lucky, the odd ones, they answered.
Yeah,
Very good, Sarah.
yeah.
Thank
So-
you guys. Oh,
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in the agenda, there are 2 links in case you wanted to see any more details about all the math and all the units and what that looks like at the elementary.
Very comprehensive.
Amy, I like what you said about how a select group of teachers is going to start this next school year and then everyone will implement it in 27, 28, correct? So we've all been at site visits where teachers are still carrying around their 3-ring binder with the new reading program, learning, fumbling through as best as they can, learning together, obviously. Is there any concern about now we're going to throw a new math program at you as well when that comes to the table?
There is, that's why we're gonna wait a year for everybody, heard that loud and clear. The people who will be the lead learners that we call them next year will be all people who have volunteered.
Volunteers.
No one is being forced to or told that they have to do this. It will all be volunteer. And in fact,
I think some people are excited about it.
100%. I'm more worried about the teachers that are maybe really struggling now they're going to get another new program. I mean, are there any of are any of those people your lead learners?
I don't think they'll step up, honestly. I think
That's definitely been conversation, in the lunchroom and everything, that people are really nervous about it. But it was a great relief when they found out we did not have to adopt it and everybody implement it next fall.
I think there was that heightened, and then when you guys made the announcement, like the room just kind of went, oh, okay. Right?
by chance was someone who wanted to be a lead learner that myself or the principal as administrators were concerned about them being able to take that on next year because maybe they're still working really hard at the reading part. Like then the principals can help with that conversation and say, maybe this isn't the best idea, if we needed to do that, but it probably won't happen.
And I know we're not approving any kind of financial with this, but I heard you mention workbooks, which I really liked how you said there was more room for kids to do their work. Because I know as my child struggles with that, we always have an extra paper stapled to it, show you, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean less printing? I mean, I'm trying to think like saving some money.
Using the resource with integrity and fidelity because there should be plenty and probably more than they would ever have time to do within that, and there wouldn't be a need to do printing.
So this partners with the digital or the workbook along with digital resources as well.
Correct. Yep. And of course, at the elementary level, fifth a little more, but then down to kindergarten, less and less. There's less digital component, and that was a really big priority to us to be sure. We didn't necessarily think it aligned with our values that our kindergartners will be doing their math lesson on a device every day. So there's definitely a kind of a progression of it.
So more hands-on manipulative stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And our teachers will get the manipulative kits and all that they need. And kind of too, I know this isn't what you asked there, but just so you have the context, typically what you do with a curriculum company, like with this resource that's this big, is you typically do a 6-year purchase for the workbooks for that time frame and the digital access and subscription for that time. One of the things I've gotten good at is talking companies into providing us with perks. So next year, because we're just going to have the lead learners, we're essentially getting 7 years for the price of 6.
Nice. So how long have we been using the current program?
18 years.
Okay. What's time?
Be a big change.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes. Thanks for the questions and the conversation. We
Thank you for coming.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Finish your motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
No discussion or informational items. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Budget insurance, Catherine?
I have informational items or Fund 10 revenue and expenditure preliminary reports. David C., do we have any highlights, notable?
It's pay our debt payment this month, so that's another 6 million that we're gonna spend.
Are we getting a property tax check too? Or,
Yeah, it's not on there, but we got.
okay, sweet. Just wondering.
I am.
All right, I have one action item, the one I always have, which is our gifts, grants, and bequests. Administration recommends approval to accept gifts, grants, and bequests received in February 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Cool.
Yeah. I should probably know this, but where are they determining designation? Can people just write that in, or is there like a list that's
They
provided?
usually indicate when they make a donation, how they want it spent. Usually someone's asking for it, you know, and so in that, yeah.
I was figuring there must have been a
Yep.
fundraising,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Thank you. Well, this is really great, exciting to see. So, any discussion?
Thank you.
Big thank you. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. I have no discussion items, and that concludes my report, Mr. President.
All right, Captain, thank you. Personnel Negotiations Committee, Nick Olson.
I have one action item. Administration recommends approval of the March 2026 new hires and separations report.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you to those longtime teachers on there.
A lot of years of experience.
And to duly note, we talked about this, but for the public, that there's 3 teachers on the resignation side and stuff, and they're not allowed to retire, so to speak, but they're resigning from the district because they don't have the number of years service and to be eligible for the retirement side. So that is a pretty extensive list that we have, and we do know that things still could change before the end of the year too, so.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. No discussion items, no informational items. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Legislative Committee, Laura?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have 0 action items, just one informational item that's talking about the regular floor session concluding, but that there were conversations that potentially there could be an additional special session to address a few things that have been put on the table with the surplus we're seeing in the state of Wisconsin. One of those is 200 million to meet the commitment to special education categorical aid reimbursement targets of 42 to 45. The approximately $500 million for the school levy tax credit to support property tax relief, and 1.4 billion in an individual income tax rebate. So I haven't seen any updates on that. I'm not sure if anyone else has.
Yeah, so we did receive an
Thank you.
update today that they're still in discussion, Governor Evers and Speaker Boss. There seems to be some understanding between the two that they agree that additional special education funding aid and school levy credit dollars should be included in any deal. So at least they're still talking, which is very important. And I don't know, I get the feeling that something is going to happen, and hopefully positive for not only our district, but the state of Wisconsin.
I'm also hearing that same positivity, so let's keep our hopes up. There were no discussion items, and that will conclude my report.
All right, thank you. Policies and rules, Shelley.
Great, we have 3 action items tonight. Administration proposes the approval of changes to the following policies based on Neola recommendations. First reading of policy 8510, wellness. This policy is being revised based on direct feedback from the Department of Public Instruction's DPI, School Nutrition Team, SNT. These revisions are necessary to ensure compliance with the law. The new policy was drafted by the District Wellness Committee, including parents, a student representative, teachers, health office staff, a school board representative, and administrators.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I just give a little bit of background. So we had a team, and some of them are here tonight, who helped us draft. Our current policy is about 2 paragraphs. This is multiple pages. So we spent some time together looking at some proposed language, and this is what our team came up with. I just want to recognize the people who are here. Sarah sat on the team as a school board rep. Brendan sat on as a student rep. Jamie. Dina Wells is our health teacher. Am I missing anybody else who was on that team? No, I think that's it. Oh, Dina. Oh, and Dina and Jen. Sorry, they helped me lead it. Yeah. So we had a handful of folks who participated, and like I said, this is the draft we came up with. We did want to highlight one area that we would like the board to weigh in on, and if you would mind scrolling down to the yellow, I'm gonna have a hard time reading this. This is the section, this is draft language. All food and beverages offered on school campus, including those provided as part of celebrations, parties, or classroom snacks, must adhere to the district standards established above. And so our team really struggled with this. We recognize that there's lots of birthday parties every day. You could literally have cupcakes in your classroom every week for every birthday party at the elementary level. But I don't know if anybody from the committee wants to speak. Brendan would like to speak. Go for it.
So I just have a couple concerns with this proposition. How will this affect parents, students, and teachers' access to snacks if they want to continue doing celebrations, parties, snack time? I know for elementary schools, that was the thing when I was there. How will this affect those families and their access to healthy snacks as dictated by the USDA Smart Snack Standards? And then if that access is available and that isn't an issue, will this place a financial burden on families? Are these snacks going to be more expensive? And what are some unintended consequences that this might have?
Those were really good points that the team brought up. The other thing that when I worked in other districts where this language was actually in policy, the district provided families with a list of what are USDA Smart Snacks eligible. So it would give you a list of what are those snacks and what qualifies under those snacks. So the question really, I'm going to let the other representatives talk here, but the question really on the table is, do we limit what we're providing during these celebrations, or do we kind of leave it status quo? If we leave it status quo, then that yellow would come out of the policy language. If we wanted to limit what we are providing in these celebrations and parties as well, then it would stay in. Sarah, do you have anything you wanted to share about that?
I think the other concern was from a parent perspective is if you're going to have these requirements, then the school district should be providing those snacks. That's always been something that's kind of been brought up, that if we want them to eat certain things, then we should be providing those.
Jen and Dina, I know Dina, you sort of have had an experience where this has been put in policy and it's been successful in other districts, and
Yeah, it was a little tough at first to adjust to not having as many cupcakes and things, but then once it kind of got to be status quo, then it was okay.
After people adjusted.
First, but that was my experience.
And this is stuff, these are items that the school district is paying for, right? To your point, Sarah.
Right. Well, currently, these are like the things that families, staff might provide as part of a celebration. Yeah. Jen, anything else you wanted to add? Jamie and Dina?
As the food service guy, no, but as a principal that was in that committee, her biggest concern was they don't provide snacks. Our program does not have a program to provide a snack community.
Right.
And a lot of parents and community members donate snacks to a lot of our schools. And they were very concerned that those snacks would not be available if we put this into place. And there was quite a bit of concern about that. If they were restricted on what they could provide.
Dina, do you have anything to add?
Could you, instead of maybe striking it, have like recommend? Because I would presume the snacks are healthy snacks. And so like, would we recommend that you choose from this, go from this list? Like, would that be a balance?
Good.
I like that. Great suggestion.
From a high school student perspective, just seeing kind of all of the, what could be considered provided snacks, it's, for a student, there's going to be a lot of change there, more than even in an elementary school, because I mean, if you bring donuts for your friends, that could be considered provided food, or beverages, that could be considered provided food. And I think enforcing that just between students, or even if it's just not provided by the teachers or the parents, it's going to be pretty hard to enforce that at the high school.
I would also think that at the elementary level, who's enforcing this and what are you going to do? Make a child throw food in the garbage instead of eating it? So then they go without. That's not what we stand for. I mean, we're not trying to starve kids here.
Well, this was a point we could not come to consensus on. That's why we said at some point we needed to kind of bring this to the board for your recommendations. The other thing I just wanted to point out, and I don't know where it is on here. I don't know if it's up or down, Anne, but one place that we talked a lot about, maybe it's up because I see it, I think, on the Lex line. We had a lot of conversation about caffeine consumption and providing caffeine and potentially putting some limitations on that. Some people wanted no caffeine provided at school by our staff. Others said maybe there could be, this was our compromise, that if we're going to provide caffeine products, then it should be up to 100 milligrams, which is the American Pediatrics recommendation on daily intake. That's where that came from. Dina, anything you want to say about that?
Things that we can do too in curriculum to try to promote better choices that we already put into the 10th grade health class. Just since this meeting happened, I had our long-term substitute. We had a lesson that included this, but I had her go more in depth and add like a project or something like that the kids did around the dangers of too much caffeine. And they did it, I believe, last week because kids came to tell me that they were glazing my own son because he drinks too much. So they were talking about it and
We'll have to use it.
his impact on them.
Yeah. Place my donuts.
I think there's things we can do
I could.
in health curriculum and try and promote more of the better choices, whether we have to, make kids make those better choices. I don't know if that's the right way. Or education.
Mhm.
We can do that easily.
The only other thing I just wanted to point out, there's a section about fundraising. It hasn't really changed. We already don't have competitive foods being fundraised during the school day. Like we don't sell candy bars during the day and those kinds of things. So that got clarified because that was not in our current policy, but it is our current practice. So that was also indicated in here.
Jamie, do we still have guidelines for the vending machines?
There are guidelines for everything.
Yeah, so the vendors can only bring in, yeah, Brendan, here's.
It's in our school, high school, that we have the food service control zone. There's no other
So
option.
nobody's from the outside any longer.
No, but they have to adhere to the smart
Right.
snack standards. Yeah.
We've been our department has been under these requirements for a very.
Yes. A lot of this is actually just putting into policy what Jamie has already had to do. It just wasn't in policy, but it did give us opportunity to tighten it up even more. And that's where some of those conversations came from.
To go along with what Catherine said, so could this statement say something to this effect? It is a recommendation that all foods and beverages offered, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I think that's a good addition. and a good compromise.
Kind of like up on the top, and the district encourages,
Yes, or
Yeah.
similar language.
actually, it already says that in the top one.
It's true.
The district encourages foods offered, and this is including celebrations.
Strike B.
So actually, yeah, B would just be completely eliminated because it already sort of allows that opportunity.
We just had that discussion for nothing.
Well, we had to come up with a plan, but wow.
Do I have to amend my motion then? Yes.
We do, Kyle, don't we? Yeah.
I amend my prior motion to strike paragraph B from the foods offered, provided but not sold section in the policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
Actually, I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking here. It says we encourage that they meet or exceed. That's not accurate with what we provide, Jamie. We have to meet or exceed. It's not a suggestion.
Including those, meet or exceed those provided at celebrations.
So we do meet and exceed nutritional standards for what we provide on campus. What we're suggesting is that the district encourages celebrations and parties to also adhere to that, but it's not required. I will reword A to reflect what I just described if the board is okay with that. Is that okay, Jamie? Is that okay? I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Okay.
I think we're on the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
No, I didn't.
So the motion in the second is still to strike B.
Right, but reword A to include that will encourage family or celebrations to adhere, but not. Yes. Okay.
And get out lists.
You want to amend it again?
Yes, and then we'll provide a list.
Doing the education, inside and out.
And did you capture that? I did. Okay, we'll work on it tomorrow. Okay.
We can just go with the motion on, or taking out B. And then you'll bring back
Rewording.
16th, the rewording.
Sound good, Brennan?
Is there any further discussion?
Amy, do you have anything else to say?
Sorry.
I love cupcakes,
Cupcake
donuts. I love glazing kids
All right.
and donuts.
You said you like glazing your
I
donut.
didn't even never heard that before. That was amazing. Glazing her son.
Works
Okay.
every day.
Moving on.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, the next action item is the first reading of policy 6152.01, waiver of school fees or fines. This policy provides that school fees and fines do not prevent financially struggling students from accessing their education and required materials, consistent with the requirement that such charges cannot be barriers to the educational program. It establishes clear eligibility standards, including for low-income and homeless students, and outlines a necessary procedure for requesting and appealing fee waivers. By formalizing this process, the policy upholds equity by preventing discrimination against students whose families are unable to pay. The policy revisions make optional the language for fee eligibility standards and the resolution of disputes, as well as a defined list of options for fees to be waived. It is recommended to improve options, reflect practice, and enhance clarity.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Where did the recommendations come on this? Was this Neil?
Neola,
as well?
and I asked David to review it before.
Okay.
David, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Yeah.
Other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Third action item is the first reading of policy 6320, purchasing. This policy outlines the procedure for the procurement of all supplies, materials, equipment, and services using district funds, emphasizing compliance with relevant laws and ethical standards. Its importance lies in ensuring fair and open competition, responsible financial management, and preventing conflicts of interest in all purchasing transactions. The key policy revisions include reorganization of content as well as clarification on single vendor bids and the timeline for bid delivery to the district. This revision is recommended but not required.
Approved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
25,000 seems kind of low. Is that standard or for getting different quotes as a threshold?
Well, we always, I kind of push it, we always get the quotes no matter what. See where we get the biggest difference. The big thing with this is, I'd always go back to refer this when I had questions, and it talks about the 2016 referendum stuff, so policies, so out of date, it was useless.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There are no informational items tonight, no discussion items. This ends my report.
Thank you. Operation Committee, you've been waiting a long time, Sarah, but
I would like
Your
to spend
floor.
all the money now.
okay.
I have one action item. Administration recommends approval of the purchase of 2 special education buses from Wisconsin Bus Sales for a total of $298,234. One bus will be equipped with a wheelchair lift. One bus will be modified to have flat floor throughout the bus. Both buses will be dedicated solely for special education. One bus will be used to transport students from the local voucher school, which we discussed last time we were in session, I believe. There are some numbers here. Wisconsin Bus Sales Company. I'm not going to read that because that's stuff that I am not familiar with. But the total is at the bottom, 298, 234.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No, Pat or Dave, do you want anything?
Just real briefly, the one bus that can have a lift, that's what's gonna enter into our service right now. We have 5 current buses, they're all propane. They're all 7 years or older. So we are starting to see where something will break and then that stops a route. So we're bringing this one in just to slowly kind of modernize our fleet in that regard. The other bus, and I was gonna say we also, all our buses are propane. So we did have an issue, this was a few years ago, where an entire fleet was wiped out due to a problem with fueling. It just so happened to have over, I think it was Chris's break, so we didn't miss any service. But to avoid that, we're gonna buy a diesel, but just so we have another alternative fuel source. The other bus is going to be for, like I said, Superior Learning Academy, and it will be solely dedicated to that. We are looking at with the track flooring that was added to it, if we can look for some reimbursements as we do take on this extra expense for this route. So, but yeah, any questions?
And on that,
Are
which
you
one
doing
of those
financing
buses?
for it?
Oops, go ahead. Go ahead, Laura, ask again.
Yeah, are we doing financing for it or did David budget it? Just curious.
On the budgeting side of this is our original plan that we started 6 or 7 years ago when I first started in transportation is we'd buy a bunch of buses, get into a 3-year pay period, and we pay $300,000 a year. That first year we'd be able to buy 11, then inflation we'd be able to buy 8. On this one, I decided that we're just gonna, and it's budgeted for the $300,000 this year. We're just gonna buy the 2 sped buses. I didn't want to get into where I'm locked into having to spend $300,000 for the next 3 years. So I'm kind of taking it year by year in case something comes down the road so we can reevaluate our buses. But yeah, it was budgeted out. I think I was a little over $300,000 in for budget for this year, anticipating we'd be buying a bus, some set of buses.
So is this 2 in, 2 out?
No. So the buses we have now are okay. We're replacing engines now. That's another part of it with propane station we're running into, but they become our backup buses now, which.
Well, and with a new route, we needed to add a bus anyway, right?
Yeah, so the taking on the Superior Learning Academy is one bus that we're gonna have to run now. We're adding track flooring because of Medicaid reimbursement changes. So hopefully by having track flooring on a bus that's flat floored, you might be able to get some Medicaid reimbursements. And regardless of what happens, if it transitions out, if we're not doing Superior Learning Academy, that bus would then be dedicated to, you know, our spec kids. Pat's really been working on reevaluating the need for all the lift buses we have. At one point in time, we had lots of chairs, lots of kids in wheelchairs. That's kind of gone down now, but it ebbs and flows, so we need to make sure we have those. But probably can we better utilize the buses by not having to have the lifts getting beat up when they drive around. So.
Which bus is dedicated to Superior Learning Center?
The one up there, which one?
The 77, no lift? Correct. And how many students would be possibly?
Now, 47, but they did have a deadline to finish it soon. May, where they have to spit out the students that they are going to be transporting for them. Sure. That had to change them. And said they'll be going.
77 on the buses, I pretty much can't even there's 3 of a seat.
Correct.
We're trying to put 3 any size kids smaller or bigger than 3rd grade. They'll yell at it. We do it sometimes. They'll yell at it, yeah.
What's the age range at that place? Do we know?
Kindergarten up to, I believe it was 8th grade currently, but they're working on adding up to 10th.
Well, they just added 9th this year and now adding 10th next year.
Right. So that'll be 11th and 12th soon.
And they all ride the bus together.
Not currently.
Okay,
They have van transportation.
but they will. Okay.
This is a genuine question, not meant to be malicious. Like, why are we buying a bus that's used for a different school?
Legally have to.
Legally have to. Okay, thank you.
We also provide transportation to students at Maranatha and Cathedral.
Thank you.
Statute.
Thanks.
Do we get reimbursed for that?
It's in the student transportation reimbursement pennies. So, yeah.
I just wanted that vocalized.
It's happy to know that.
I know.
They're smiling.
I wanted it for. Mhm. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have one informational item, facility department update from,
Well, I asked, we're gonna tag team it between Jamie, David and myself. But I know that there are probably questions around Bryant and the middle school and facility director hiring. So I don't know who wants to take what. Anybody?
So how about Brian first?
Okay.
So Brian, there's actually 2 projects on Brian. One was the tuck point in the windows. There's actually this construction talk, a punch list that we will over tomorrow to figure out what needs to be done. The plan is to hopefully get it done over spring break. It was painted on the inside, and then Bobby Nunley, who we're working with, has found other stuff that they need to fix, caulking and stuff like that. The other part of it was the main entry doors. What happened is in the summer when they went to do it, they took out the entry stuff around the entries and found that there was a missing steel beam that was in the drawings, but it's not actually there. So they said, can't do it now because we have to get new drawings and get a steel support and put into it. That's going to be delayed until the summer. The middle school, the main entryway, because of the fact that the steel or the metal is custom ordered in the front, they don't see it arriving until March 19th, which of course is after spring break. There was discussion, do we do it during the school year, but it was decided that we need to keep that front end secure. So that's also going to be done in the summertime as well. So.
Then we did interview for facility director last week. Molly, you want to share any updates on that? I don't know what you've talked about, so.
Well, he's starting on March 3rd.
Okay.
So I will be adding him in red.
In the interim, Jamie's been filling in as the interim buildings and grounds, which has been great. He brings a different perspective in there, and I think it's it's just that he brings a culture change as well. I think I've seen a lot of good improvement in the short time that he's been there, and I see him continuing to help. And his willingness to be a mentor from the new guy comes on, and his willingness to mentor the two supervisors we have. He's really been a face out there, so the energy he brings as food guy, he also brings that same energy as the buildings guy. But doesn't know as much.
I think what we focus on is just, we've moved our supervisors around. We have 2 supervisors that have been with us for a little while now. And just to give them like greater visibility. We have a great team of engineers that start the day and open our buildings up. And we move those supervisors to later in the day because it just seems like we have a lot going on in the evenings and a lot of staff that are in the evenings that were basically there on check. So we've taken that as like our biggest focus, just to be out and to be visible and support the buildings and grounds team that's on later in the day. We took on our school dudes, the work order system that we had. It was kind of not working maybe the way we should be using it. We cleaned that up and just made a real focus on if somebody needs something done, that's how we do it. That's how we communicate with our customers, meaning our teachers and our admin and anybody who needs something done. And actually, they've done a really good job with it in a short amount of time. Turns out they just needed somebody to tell them to keep moving on it. Yeah.
So are the supervisors in charge of that, or is the building engineer? So, yeah.
We have a level of accountability.
Right.
Yep.
Because he used to be pass the buck.
We're working on that.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're working on.
I think it's great to, I mean, anytime there is a need or a vacant position, someone steps in and without hesitation goes in with a new perspective and new ideas and ruffles a little bit of feathers in a good way. So I think it's wonderful to see that. And thank you for that. And for Kate, who stepped in at the high school. I mean, it's great to see. Any further discussion items?
I just say one thing that really doesn't have to do with agenda, but otherwise the meeting will be adjourned and then I can't say it. I have had some inquiries about why we are not, or whether we're not going to participate in the lawsuit regarding the school funding and the lack of school funding over the years. I will add that as an agenda item for you guys with Kyle to be in the room to just talk through that our next meeting, because we need a little more time to plan that conversation, I think.
I think it's important too that I won't be here. I'll be in DC with the 8th grade students, but in a roundabout way, we kind of are a little bit a part of it because it's brought on by the Wisconsin PTA, and some of our schools are members of the Wisconsin PTA. So there are some of us, and in a roundabout way, we are a little involved in the lawsuit. So
Kyle, I'm going to put you on the spot when we meet in 2 weeks.
Great.
We'll be off next week for spring.
It's not on the spot. That's a heads up. I know.
That's a heads up. It's a good heads up. That concludes my report.
Right, thank you. That really concludes our meeting tonight. Just a reminder, we do not meet again until March 16th. And we will be having a closed session first that evening at 4:30. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Bye. Thank you.